The Blue Jays are hot, hot, hot again. And Fan590 Toronto's Scott MacArthur joins us. Rogers Sportsnet to talk Jays. Bringing him in this morning. But there we go. There we got him on video chat from the Big Smoke. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing great. Just up from a mid-morning nap. I did the early morning show on Sportsnet 590 The Fan this morning. So if I look groggy, that's why.
I call it perma-tired when you do radio, morning radio. You're tired 24/7.
Yeah, but you know what? You learn to grind it out. You plan out your naps, and you're good to go.
Yeah,
I'm raring to go here, boys.
Yeah, exactly. Well, good. And hey, so the Yankees are in town. That's always sizzle and hot, you know. And when New York comes to town, talk about this most recent Blue Jays series and how the kids seem to have the whole country turned on right now.
Yeah, well, Bo Bichette, I think, is the one that everybody is focused on. Yesterday, Vladdy didn't play. He did pinch hit in the ninth inning and had a pretty epic at-bat against Aroldis Chapman, but that started the why isn't Vladdy playing again narrative, because the Sunday game against the Yankees was one of the premium-priced games that the Blue Jays have had this year. And so tickets are far more expensive. If I'm going, why aren't I seeing Vladdy for 9 innings, et cetera, et cetera? That's been a bit of a theme at times. But you can start to see. I have no idea where the pitching's going to come from yet. So I have my hesitations about declaring this rebuild successful before it gets anywhere close to that. But you look around the diamond, whether it's Vladdy at third, whether it's Bo at short, Cavan Biggio at second, Lourdes Gurriel in left field. Danny Jansen's got to have a better year offensively next year than he's had this year. But you can start to see sprinkled around the diamond a pretty bright future, at least from a positional perspective for the Blue Jays. And the way Bo's been setting some records, et cetera, in his first week and a half, 2 weeks in the big leagues, it's a nice distraction from a team that otherwise hasn't given this city or country anything to cheer about this year.
And for the last couple of years with this regime. But are you a Toronto kid, Scott, by the way?
Yes, born and raised in Oakville, just suburb, about a half hour west. I did start my career in Ottawa and worked there for more than a decade. But yes, I'm a GTA Toronto kid.
Okay, well, we have another one in the bunker here who I'll turn loose on you in a second. But I just want to ask you this. Mark Shapiro, the Blue Jays president, seems to me to be the most reviled Toronto sports figure since Gord Stellick and maybe even before that, Harold Ballard. But I didn't mind necessarily what he said to the media on Thursday. I'm with you on the youth movement. It certainly got me excited about the Jays. Were you satisfied with Mark Shapiro's first address to the media since all the deals last week?
Yeah, I mean, I was listening not so much for the words, because the words haven't meant much at all, at least the public words. I was listening more for tone, and if there was any kind of suggestion that maybe he had gotten the message that they have completely kicked and punted and booted their PR ever since getting here. And I have tried myself, at least, to be fair to this front office, and in particular to Mark Shapiro, because he put the front office together, to say that a few things conspired outside of their control that worked against them when they first arrived. But I feel like they have been far too much on the defensive ever since. And he seemed on Thursday or Friday, whatever day it was, when he addressed the media, to really hammer the point, look, people aren't going to care. People aren't going to have a lot of patience for any of what it is that we're doing until we win games at the big league level. And they have gone on and on and on about culture. I don't even know what that means, let alone care what it means. It sounds like corporatists speak to me, and I'm always more interested in what somebody in the rank and file says about their experience working for a front office or playing on a team or working in that environment, more so than would ever be interested in somebody at the top explaining to me how things are. Culture and collaboration and all this stuff. That's wonderful. You're redoing the facility down in Dunedin, and you're going to make it a top of the class, best in baseball rehab facility for your injured players. It's going to be a great training ground for your kids, all of that. And my feeling has always been, hey, Mark, if the Blue Jays are a 95-win team in, say, like 2022, you're going to know you're going to know, and Ross Atkins is going to know, and your people are going to know that the facility in Dunedin played a huge role in getting you to here, that the changes you made to the player development department upon your arrival played a huge role in getting you to where you are now. But do you think that George the Animal Steele, on his 12th beer in the WestJet flight deck on a Friday night, who's watching an important game on Saturday and has chosen the Rogers Center as the place to start his weekend before he stumbles on up to Queen West to go out to a bar, do you think he cares about the complex in Dunedin? Do you think he'll ever see the complex in Dunedin? Do you think he'll ever care to see the complex in Dunedin? Do you think he knows what you mean by culture? Do you think he knows what you mean by collaboration? No. Winning baseball matters. And I thought that that was the one thing, whether he was told to say it and repeat it or not, the one thing that he did say that sounded positively different to me. You can have all the process you want, but if the process never leads to results, who cares?
What do you guys got for
That's
Scott?
so good.
That's a good rant, by the way.
Yeah.
Rackham, there's Rod's rant for the day, courtesy Scott MacArthur.
And that's kind of was my question. You answered my question before I even asked it, because I didn't think it was a baseball question. I don't think it's a baseball question. I think it's a Toronto sports market problem or concern. If you don't win, we'll go watch the team that is winning. Sadly, there's few and far between. Zing.
Except for the Raptors.
well,
By the way, this is the one from Toronto, Scott. He grew up a 5-minute bike ride from Skydome.
Right,
So,
and you know, watching the
okay.
Jays highlights, you know, you see all the empty seats, and I was going to ask if that was a concern, and obviously it is. But again, the only way to I think to get bums in the seats
Win.
in Toronto is to win. Like, they're not buying
Right,
this
well-
come and see Vladdy anymore, are they?
No, but I mean, look, I think if you go through history here, there are very few teams in professional sports who can lose and get away with it from an attendance perspective. Now, the Maple Leafs here in Toronto are one of them. You know, the Saskatchewan Roughriders will draw well, whether you guys have a 5-win team or whether you have a 13 or 14-win team in a given season. I mean, the fans are just that committed and that passionate. And football is different because it's weekly, and you're not home every week. So sometimes it's a 2-week-a-month commitment to get to a game in football, whether it be the CFL or the NFL. In baseball, you can be home for up to 10 days at a time. You're home for 81 nights a season. People aren't going to plunk down to go watch you a lot if they know that they have other alternatives to come and see you, like maybe on a weekend at some point later in the summer. If you don't make yourself in demand, you're not going to draw particularly well unless it's out of your hardcore niche. And the Blue Jays do have that. But they weren't very good when Roger Clemens pitched here in 1997 and 1998, and that didn't matter. Roy Halladay, if not the greatest pitcher of his generation in the decade of the 2000s, was right up there. His starts didn't draw many more fans than other games that the Blue Jays would host back in those days. Players aren't draws. Winning is what draws. Jose Bautista hit 54 home runs in 2010, his breakout season. Did that matter? No. What mattered was late 2015, particularly after the Tulowitzki and Price acquisitions in the final week of July that year, the chase for the division, and then ultimately winning the wild card in 2016, getting to the championship series in 15 and 16. That's what mattered. If you don't win, you won't draw. And to your other point, Mark Shapiro did say something last week. The only edict he has from ownership is to run a business that does not lose money. Well, revenue is down because ticket sales are down, and so beer sales are down, and so popcorn and hot dog sales are down, and merchandise sales are down, et cetera, et cetera. He did say, though, that there would come a point, and it seems to be understood among ownership, that they might have to outspend revenue or profit, but revenue on player payroll when the time is right, knowing that if the team is good, they'll be able to recoup that and more through eyeballs on TV, butts in the seats, merchandise sales, concession sales, etc. Sometimes you do have to invest a little bit early to reap the reward later. They haven't reached that point yet, but at least verbally, he says, there seems to be an understanding among ownership that that's going to be required.
Well, Scott, I appreciate this. If I may, you seem very suited to sports talk radio rather than a little 90-second clip on television. You're crushing both, but this is a lot more fun, isn't it?
Well, my background is radio. Yeah, my career, I've been in the industry for almost 20 years. I started in news talk radio up in Ottawa. Then they started dangling carrots and letting me moonlight on what was then the Team 1200 in Ottawa. It's now TSN 1200, and I've done Ottawa Senators games, and I moved down here to Toronto to help launch TSN 1050. And did a bunch of different things there, including my own radio show for a couple of years. And then I jumped on over to Sportsnet and Sportsnet 590, The Fan, and I've been doing show hosting all summer. So, I mean, I'm a sports talk radio guy first and foremost. I'm looking at you right now, Rod. I want to wear the hoodie. I don't want to wear the makeup and the suit and the done-up tie. You know, I want to have the stubble or the one on the trimmer beard and all that stuff. I want to wear the hat backward, which is probably because my hair's in 9 different directions. Because I've been doing the morning show, or just did the morning show, and I will be doing it this week. So I crushed a bit of a nap. I think I said off the top. So that's why I'm wearing a hat. I actually look more responsible this way, wearing a hat backwards at 40 years old, than I would if you saw my hair. So I'm a radio guy through and through. I want to dress like a slob. Occasionally eat like a slob and just live the dream, right?
Well, you fit right in. Scott, thanks for this, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
I'd love to, yeah, anytime.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.